Lightning like Steve McQueen. I'm in the fast lane when the light turns green. And I built tough, I ain't nothing but grit. Cause I made rugged blood, sweat, and spit. Yeah, like a horse I fly. Better push yourself in for a bumpy ride. I like to play hard, but I work harder. And I weather the storm cause I'm built stronger.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We are live. It is the Freight Coach Morning Show, the top morning show in transportation, coming to you guys every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, to break down some industry headlines and, most importantly, provide some actual insight into what you can do with all of this information. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. This is the real side of freight, ladies and gentlemen. And what I mean by that is I only speak to transportation professionals on this show, as well as my twice a week long form podcast, because I want to put the right information out there from the people who have done what you're looking to do or who are currently doing what you're trying to achieve, so you can take this information, apply it, utilize it, and see a meaningful difference in your business and your life. It's one of the many, many reasons why I proudly fly this American flag behind me every single day. A, we're the greatest nation on earth, but B, I'm living my American dream, and I want to help each and every one of you live yours as well. I do have a very special guest for you guys today, and we're going to talk about financing and all the stuff that's going on out there and securing loans and equipment and all that stuff. But before we do that, as always, you guys have got to give a shout out to my friends over at VHub. You guys, vhubapp.com. Whether you're a broker, carrier, or a shipper, we all need access to trailers. And we all like making money too. And I think that that's one thing that no matter what, we can always agree on, is we all enjoy making money, because that's what you get. You get paid to move these trailers, and that's on top of the revenue that you can get by loading these trailers out. So you guys are all familiar with the movie Anchorman and Ron Burgundy. They have a bunch of trailers out in San Diego, California right now, you guys, going out to, they have some roll-up doors going to Mount Crawford, Virginia. And then they also have some swing doors. They got 73 of them in Louisville, Kentucky. The ones going, the roll-up doors going to Mount Crawford, Virginia, they pay $1,530. And then the Louisville, Kentucky drive-ins, you guys, all 73 of them, pay $1,170 for that, you guys. And again, that's on top of the revenue that you can get by loading that trailer out. So hit them up, vhubapp.com. My man, Zach Lonergan and Stacey Steen, they'll be in the audience. Just do me a favor. Let them know that the Freight Coach sent you. Tracy St. Clair watching over on YouTube, good morning. Zena, good morning to you. Mandeep, good morning, sir. Jeff Patterson, good morning. Catherine Whitehouse, good morning to all the freight folks out here who was ready to learn and get pumped up. Bill McIntyre, what is up, my man? Sonny Sharma, orange shirt gang, black shirt gang today, dog. We had to switch it up. Laundry day, you know what I mean? Jonathan Wolschlager, good morning to you as well. Cole Mikulik, what is up? Another great day. Amen to that. All right, without further ado, I got my man James Courier coming back on. We're here to talk about, dude, there's so much to talk about right now in the finance world about all of this stuff, especially with, it seems like interest rates are, I'm going to completely blow this out of proportion. Every day there's a higher interest rate, I swear.
Well, it's not that bad, but, certainly we've seen some rising interest rates over the past few months.
Yeah, dude, that's true, man. It's like we were talking before we started recording, and I'm just going to lead in with this right now. So, my family and I, we purchased a vehicle last week, and, I have like damn near, not as perfect as you, but I have very, very, very good credit, like well over 800 credit.
That's a good score.
I was only able, the best financing that they were able to find was like an 8.3 interest rate. Now, it was a 2023 vehicle, but it was a year old, so it was technically used. And that was the best financing we could get on it. My credit union, who I used, I could have got a 7, but it was only for a brand new vehicle, and I didn't want to spend $90,000 on a brand new SUV.
Fair.
Yeah. So, and that was, no, Andrew Teal, not a Lambo. I mean, I could go and get the Lambo sticker if I wanted, but no, it's not. And so it's like, and dude, that's what's crazy right now about all of this is it's like, dude, I pay my bills, right? Like I take care of that stuff, and it's nuts to sit there and have the finance department say, this is the best we could get for you. And they said, trust us when we say there's nothing you could have done to get a lower interest rate right now.
Jolly, I went through something very similar a few months ago. Unfortunately, had to update my personal vehicle and found the exact same thing. The interest rate was not what I was hoping for given my credit score, and the bank told me the exact same thing. You are getting the best rate possible. You can shop around. You're welcome to, and I do, and I did, as one should, and I was getting the best interest rate at like a mid sevens, high sevens for a personal vehicle, and I was astonished because historically, people with better credit scores have always been rewarded for having better credit
Yeah.
by getting better credit scores. The idea behind the credit score and the interest rate that you pay is that the higher the interest rate you're paying is because you hold more risk. Now, if you don't hold more risk, why are you paying higher interest rates? It's because the market holds more risk.
Yeah.
So you're paying for the market instability as a whole personally now versus getting a better credit rate because you've got a better credit score. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So you mean now essentially, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, because I love to blow things out of proportion, James. So what you're saying is what you're saying is I have to take on more of a risk because other people have shitty credit scores by saying that? It's like when you say the market as a whole.
So you're not taking on more risk. You're taking on more of the burden of the overall economy.
Gotcha.
Because the economy holds more risk.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, that's
so the bank is seeing more risk on the overall economy, 30,000 foot view. Therefore, those with better credit scores have higher credit rates.
Mm-hmm. No, I got you, man. And it's, because it's just like, because I worked really hard to pay off all of that stuff, and
understandably.
I still got some student loans that I'm going to be paying off here, and getting those off my books here soon. But it's like outside of my house, my mortgage, and now this vehicle, like I don't carry any debt outside of that, right? Like I live within my means. I pay stuff off every single month. Yeah, you know what? I do take advantage of the credit card game and get those points and everything else because you know what? I like having some cool free air. My wife actually, love my wife. I got to put that out there right now. She gets all the benefits of all the spending on it because I usually use that to pay for her flights when she goes and hangs out with her friends and stuff like that. But yeah, it's like, because I leverage that stuff and I don't want debt. I don't believe in that whole, yes, there is good debt to a point. I understand that.
Absolutely true.
I want to be as debt-free and cash flow positive as possible on my stuff because especially right now, right? Like it's not like they're giving away loans anymore like they kind of were when you could get a low interest rate, and that's not the case right now. So it's like I want to conserve as much cash as possible.
That we've just gone through a period of a few years where there was unlimited amounts of capital on the market. Banks were willing to lend at phenomenal, almost unprecedented rates to just about anyone. The amount of sticker shock that we're seeing right now with folks coming to us saying, okay, we want to get a trailer or a group of trailers. What's my interest rate on 5 trailers versus 25 trailers?
Yeah.
Well, you sit down and explain to them how risk and supply and demand, things like that work with the finance game. Ultimately, the people who were getting 3% are now at 7, 8, 9%. And that's just a reality of how the market is dictating interest rates right now.
Yeah. So essentially, the only way you can not be affected by interest rates is if you just pay cash for your shit.
Essentially now. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's no you talked about the 5 and 25. Is there a vault, like as a lender, is there a vault, like a volume discount you could call it, where it's like, hey, we can get you a better rate if you buy 25 over 20 trailers, or is that not really taken into consideration?
The volume isn't taken into consideration when it comes to lending unless you've been a volume buyer historically. If you've historically been a company that goes out and buys 25 or 50 units at a time, then we see that as historical precedence. We know that you're comfortable doing that. We know that you're able to take on those new pieces within your fleet and inject them so that there's not units sitting for long periods of time. Whereas, some of the trucking companies right now that are coming to us saying, I've just landed this new contract and I've got this opportunity. I've had 5 trucks and 10 trailers for the last 5 years, but now I want to get 10 new trucks and 20 more trailers. Mm-hmm. Those are the guys that are raising red flags going, okay, where's this contract coming from? We know that there's a lot of market uncertainty. We know that spot rates are down significantly. You and I were talking earlier about some of the ACT research that's going on and some of the economic indicators. It would absolutely be a red flag right now if somebody was coming to us with something that is historically outside of their norm buying procedure.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause it's so like, let's talk about that. Cause you had sent me over just talking about historical trends, industry trends here. Mm-hmm. And I want to talk about this because it talks about, spot load posts are up 2%. But the month over month comparison between June and July are down 20%. Year over year is down 50%.
Yeah.
And then if you look at the van load to truck ratio, it is in the month of June. It was up 2% from June to July, but it's down 31% year over year. And that how do you guys take that into consideration when you're looking at, somebody who's coming in to finance stuff? Do you guys take current market trends? Do you guys look at a running 5-year total? Like what's taken into play there?
Oh man. I mean, looking at what happened 5 years ago is almost irrelevant at this point in the trucking industry because there's so many different variables that change every single quarter now. Looking at it month over month is not as significant as looking at it year over year. I'm more of an annualized guy. I want to see what's happening as a trend year over year. So what's happened from July 22 until July 23 is we are seeing a van load to truck ratio down 31.2%. That's a significant margin in my world. And should be in anybody's world in trucking, because you need that van load to truck ratio to be closer to zero as an equilibrium, ideally, in order for those spot rates to come up. Until that van load to truck or the flatbed load to truck or reefer load to truck ratio starts normalizing and getting closer to zero, we're not going to see freight rates come back up.
Yeah. So then that, because, and this is why I wanted to talk about this, because it's like, for me, anybody who's going in there and looking at buying a truck or adding multiple trucks into your fleet, and you don't have the, I'm going to use the Warner, for example, you don't have the purchasing power of a Warner where you're like, I'm buying 500 trucks. And, you look at that, your finance companies look at that and they're like, vans down 31%, flatbeds down 67%, reefer load to truck is down 46%. And then the spot rates are down 19% for reefers and 22% for flatbeds and 21% for vans. That all comes into play, you guys. And this is what I want everybody to know. This all comes into play when it looks into financing, whether it's a truck or a trailer. And then especially whatever trailers you're looking to buy, right? So if you're looking to buy some reefer trailers and you see that load to truck ratio is down 46%, to James's point earlier about the contract, all right, let's see the contract then. Let's see that physical thing, because you can't just I guess the only way to put it, you can't bullshit your way into better financing right now. You need that tangible proof to even probably get financing or at least a better rate, right? There's a bunch of things that go into consideration.
Well, there's a lot you can do to get a better rate from a corporate perspective.
Yeah.
And I know I sound like a broken record, but it's the simple things that count. Particularly if you're a mid-sized company, getting audited financial statements is the most important thing you can do in order to help your company grow.
Yeah.
Because spending $10,000 on getting your statements audited is probably going to save you multiples of that amount over the next few years just in financing costs alone.
Yeah. Andrew Teal brings up a good point here. He says rejections will need to come up quite a bit before spot volumes will move, and primary carrier acceptance rates will need to drop below 90% to drive up contracted rates. Are you guys?
100% agree.
Yeah, I was going to say, are you guys, I mean, again, like this is just me being a nerd or maybe an ill-informed one at that. Do you guys pay attention to like the earnings calls of like the large publicly traded carriers, and they're talking about their projections and what they're seeing out there? I mean, because you guys, I would assume a finance company literally has eyes and ears on everything to try and see where things are going.
It's tough to keep your eyes and ears on everything, but I like to try and take in as much knowledge from the industry as I possibly can, and paying attention to the macro scale. Global economics is absolutely as important as home economics right now.
Yeah. And, obviously Freight Coach Morning Show is probably the one that gets you the most information.
Well, where else are you going to get the most important information?
That's very true. That's very true, man. So I want to bring up one article here, and this is kind of tying in the economic expectations of things. And this is from Fleet Owner, and this is the ACT research that we were, discussing. This industry forecast rises following heightening economic expectations. A new forecast shows output for class 5 through 7 and 8. Well, I don't know why they wouldn't just say 5 through 8, and trailers in 23 and 24 moving upward again this month. An increase in economic growth in 2023 should boost demand for class 8 vehicles, putting the industry in a better position for even stronger demand in 2025. With the economy gathering momentum into the second half of 23 and with supporting backlogs in place, the risk to build rates into year end is now essentially in the rear view. And that was from Kenny Veith, a president and senior analyst with ACT. While the 2024 forecasts have risen, they continue to anticipate slowing into next year as pent-up demand for Class 8 and trailer markets will largely be consumed by the end of year amid strong fleet growth in the week of the 2023 freight demand environment. So when you see something like that, right? When you're working with, like if I was coming to you, James, and we had been working together for a long time, or I'm a new customer of yours, and I'm like, hey, James, this is what I'm looking at right now. I got a truck, it's in working condition. Don't get me wrong, everything's good. I could stretch it out another year on it. Or even the equipment too, my trailer as well. I want to get a new truck and trailer. How are you taking something like that? And are you working with me of, hey, if you can stretch it out another year, again, you can't guarantee anything, right? Like you can't guarantee anything's going to get any better, but with all the information that you're seeing, are you advising people, this is what we're predicting could happen? Or are you more along the lines of, with the way that we see things, it's always better now because we don't know what's going to happen in 12 months?
My job as a somewhat of an advisor to my customers, or at least a pseudo advisor, particularly when they ask my opinion, is just to give them that. I give them a compilation of the things that I know and have learned over the most recent amount of time, such as the article you're referencing right now. This article to me seems like conflicting information based on the DAT freight and analytics information that we're looking at. That being said, if the ACT information is correct and they are expecting a strong demand into 24 and 25, I think that's fantastic. I don't know which economic research they are referencing. It doesn't mention that anywhere in the article, but I think that's terrific news that they are expecting freight to get better, the economy to continue to grow, GDP in North America to continue going in the right direction. Ideally, inflation starts to come down a little bit. If all of those things go in the right direction, then absolutely, I would strongly consider somebody getting into the market right now would potentially be a good idea given the right circumstances and the right knowledge, background, experience, etc. That being said, I mean, looking at a couple of the other articles that we were discussing off air, there's been a mass exodus of 25 to 35,000 MCs just in the first 6 months of the year.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a massive amount of carriers exiting the market, which inevitably helps to balance these things out and gets us closer to an equilibrium, but doesn't exactly indicate strong freight markets when you've got 35,000 people exiting the market as just drivers.
Yeah, I want to, because like I see those numbers come out, and I always want to see how many, like what the actual breakdown is of trucks actually leaving the market, because I think like with some of the data out there, there's broker MCs, and then there's also MCs that like people just let them lapse, right? Like they just didn't renew them because of whatever reason, right? So it's like those are like the real numbers that I want to see. I'm not saying that people aren't leaving the industry, because there definitely is, but I want to see that actual breakdown with it. And then Andrew Teal brings up another good point. Customers are shopping down the market. I'm not buying the new Pete and quilted stainless steel reefer trailer. I'm looking at a 2-year-old used Freightliner and a less flash trailer. I can afford X due to the interest rates and tight markets. X buys less now. Are you seeing that buying pattern switch potentially, James? Because like, I mean, again, a couple of years ago, people just couldn't buy anything, right? Like, because there was no inventory. And now, you know, with that being said, are you seeing that people have shifted their purchase to that? Like they're looking for that couple-year-old truck at this point.
You know, so there's a little mix of both, Coach. A lot of what we're seeing is still that replenishment from when carriers could not get their hands on the amount of equipment that they would normally buy in a given year. So there wasn't only not that growth going on, they couldn't replenish fast enough just to maintain their average age of equipment. So we're still seeing that natural replenishment happening. The demand for the remainder of the year still seems extremely strong, and candidly, the demand into early 24 Q1 24 still seems really good. So we are seeing a natural process of slowing down on some of these things, you know, and it's bound to happen when rates get low. People shop for used. So yes, we are seeing a lot of that from the secondary market, and we're not opposed to that at all.
Yeah, I think that
if it suits your needs, I should put.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you, man. I think that it brings up interesting times with a lot of things, right, James? Because like my honest opinion is I know some people hear this and that might not be what they want to hear, but I'm always like, dude, if you want to start now, right? Like if your whole thing is you want to get into the industry and you want to start a business, start right now, because it's never going to be easy, right? Like there's never a good time to do anything, regardless of what anybody out there is saying. It's never going to be a better time than the present to get into business and do your thing. But I think like in today's day and age, with the amount of information that is out there, it's knowing and having enough cash reserves in place, because you can't just like start a business, especially a trucking company, with no money, right? Like that, like I would assume that, you know, people have those conversations all the time. We're like, all right, well, what do you have to put down? And like, I don't have anything to put down. For me, it's like now more than ever, because Josh brings up a good point here. Josh Krause is the total cost of ownership is a huge portion of the purchase decision, meaning that the market is properly evaluating moving down the market, as Andrew communicated. Because again, it's just like, you know, that $100,000 truck doesn't just cost $100,000, right? Like you got to look at the interest rates. You have to look at the total loan and all of those things. And, you know, you need to ensure, and especially in business, like you need to ensure you got multiple months of cash reserves built up right away, because it's like, you don't want to buy this thing and then 30 days later can't find any freight, and you're done, right? Deshaun Falls brings up a great point. You need at least 50 grand in his opinion.
to start as an owner operator,
Yeah.
50 grand would be a decent start. Absolutely. Historically, the largest barrier to entry to getting into the trucking business was that lack of 50 grand. It's not the education or awareness of how to start a trucking business. The legislative assemblies have made it pretty easy to do that. It's being the lack of capital available to those people wanting to start up new trucking businesses and getting past that 2 or 3 trucks and 4 or 5 trailer small business owner kind of position to get to the 50 to 60 truck owners. That's been the hardest job to do because of the lack of capital.
Yeah, it's man, you can't say that enough, right? Having people not planning for a lot of that, because especially like when you get in, and again, and I talk about this because I've fallen victim to this because of my own doing, right? Is when there's a lot of revenue coming in, you want to think that that's just the way it's always going to be. And
sunny days are fantastic,
dude, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're the best. But I think
rainy days still happen though.
Yeah, they do. And you need to be prepared for them, because you can't stop operating because of that, right? Like, especially if you're going to do this long term, which I think everybody goes into business with the intention of wanting to do it long term, or, they have a build up and an exit strategy where it's like, well, I was only going to drive for the next 15 years anyways. I'd rather do it for myself and then retire. You need to understand that though, like you got to plan for those things and you got to put money aside. And, I would advise a lot of people, work with a financial planner in business, a CPA, a bookkeeper, and make sure all your stuff's in line with this, because, again, that's got to be a factor. Then that when you go to trade in and upgrade, it's like, okay, cool. You gross $300,000, but you have negative 10,000. Like, that's going to affect your ability to purchase stuff. Right. So I think it's like planning that and having cash reserves, to make a better purchasing decision. Because again, I would say in times like this, especially James, if you can buy your loan or buy the equipment outright or finance the minimum amount, again, that's going to help you, I think, personally, long-term.
100%. You're hitting the nail on the head, as always, Jolly. One of our good friends who we share mutually, Kyle Lindner, had a fantastic post on LinkedIn. I think it was last week. And I'll paraphrase here because he's far more intelligent than I am. Just don't tell him that.
No, not at all. I'll bleep that out.
We'll edit that one out. The position that he took, and he's absolutely right, is that the companies that are operating with the intention to be as nimble and agile as possible, those who are running the most efficiently right now are still absolutely able to do that profitably, no matter what the rate is. They've been through this, they've done it, and they know how to get through it.
Yeah. And I think, like, again, as we're kind of wrapping it, dude, these ones they're just fly by now. It's already,
I can't believe that.
I think like this is what's so important for, just do your due diligence, right? Like if you're thinking about it, call James, right? Like if you're listening to this and you're thinking, talk to a guy like James, who's going to shoot you straight on like where things are going. And again, there's never a right time, but there's never a better time than now to get the right information to make the most educated decision for your future. And it's like, this is why I have James coming on every single month to talk about finance in all of this, because this is an ever-changing thing right now in today's economy, and you need to be better prepared for it, because people are going to go into business. They are going to want to pursue, again, that American dream, like I do. And I talk about this all the time. And this is why we talk a lot, is because you want to see people succeed no matter what, and taking the time to answer this and come on the show, man. I appreciate it.
Hey, you know what? I like being if I can share my 2 cents and my little bit of industry knowledge and experience to help the next guy down the line, I'm more than happy to do that anytime.
I appreciate that, man. How does anybody reach out to you?
As usual, by LinkedIn or email, james.courier@finlock.com. look me up, connect with me. Always happy to have a conversation. I've had several of your listeners reach out since I started coming on the show, and it's always lovely talking with them.
I appreciate that, man. And Teal, as we're kind of wrapping up, he says that the biggest difference between the megas and the small guys isn't the rate per mile, it's their cost per mile and efficiency. That the larger carriers aren't hauling $4 a mile freight. They're hauling the same, but because of the agility and low cost per mile, they still make money on today's rates. And, again, that's another thing we talk about, man, is like building out that, and working with your customers on how to, the right cost, break even points and stuff like that, and how they can. I got my mind's going for the next time you're on, James.
Oh man, you know what? We should bring on Kyle Lindner for a group chat next time. And guys like Jim Coffrin who can talk about cost per mile and have this phenomenal breakdown and knowledge base and experience on exactly how to do that. I've learned a ton from guys like this, and can't speak highly enough about them.
Perfect. Well, you know what? You got my mind wandering on that one. So that might be what we do next time, but that's going to be it. Tomorrow, you guys, is Q&A day. So any transportation sales or operations related questions, drop them in my DMs or drop them in the chat tomorrow on the live show, and I will answer them. As always, if you guys got value in this, subscribe to the show, you guys. Share it out there because if you see value, your network's going to see value in it as well. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys, and we'll be talking to you soon. Don't worry, James.